Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Get up and get better.
Get better. Go get it.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back another week. Thank you all for tuning in. I am very excited. I got some fun stuff planned for this week. And I'm going to start off with a quote real quick. Here we go.
This baby hits 88 miles per hour. You're going to see some serious shit.
Back to the Future. Look, I got Back to the Future behind me this week. I was thinking over the weekend about how much I love this movie, and I just recently watched it. And there are a lot of topics in this movie that are actually really connected to motivation and inspiration. And I did some research, and I was just thinking about what other people thought. And I found a couple topics specifically to Back to the Future that kind of correlate with Get Better. And a couple things stood out to me the most. So really what really stood out to me was here. I'm going to start with this scene. It's, for those who haven't seen it, I might spoil a little bit of it. It's been out long enough. You should have seen it by now. Marty McFly goes back in time accidentally, and he meets his parents back when they were younger, and he's introduced to a whole new world. Not only the 50s, but, you know, his parents and just what they were like back in the day. And it's such a great film. It's just so well written. And I think one thing that's really interesting is because we always want to wonder, like, what were our parents like back then? And he got to see it, and you got to see how similar that they were and how what happened back then affected what happened in the present. I'm going to start with this one scene. Marty McFly is talking to his dad about his creation and his ideas.
I never let anybody read my stories. Why not? Well, what if they didn't like them? What if they told me I was no good? I guess that would be pretty hard for somebody to understand. No, not hard at all.
So I like this because earlier in the film you see this scene, which really goes together really nicely. Marty is trying out for his talent show at the school, and this is the reaction he gets to his music.
Just too darn loud. Next, please. We have the next group, please.
Re-elect Mayor Goldie Wilson. Progress is his middle name.
Too loud. I can't believe it. I'm never gonna get a chance to play in front of anybody.
Marty, one rejection isn't the end of the world.
So what I like about that is, you know, he feels like rejection is just the end of it for him. He got rejected once. He doesn't know if he can handle it again. And it kind of just shows how similar you are in the traits that you pass down. If you don't have that confidence, like his father George didn't have the confidence, it passed down to Marty. And you see that he ended up helping his dad, which in turn helped him. And, you know, I really think it's cool because by the end of the film, here he is, you know, jamming out to Johnny Be Good. And, you know, shocking the world back in that day with this music. And, you know, I think that it's really interesting because, you know, it shows two things for me. It shows that, one, the traits that you have, you pass down generations. It shows that the way you conduct yourself, that passes on to the people in your life in the future. And I think you have to focus on making sure that you are confident in yourself because that will pass down to your children and their children. That's something that gets passed down. Not all the time, but, you know, it shows in this movie. And then it also shows that, you know, younger generations have something to teach older generations. Marty really builds the confidence in his dad, and Marty helps people back in that generation. And it shows, you know, inspiration and motivation come from all different age groups. And just because you're older than someone doesn't mean that you can't get inspiration and advice from someone younger, and it's very important to take advice and inspiration from those older than you. So I think this movie really focuses on that very well. Now, another scene that I love is, of course, the end scene with Doc and Marty, and I'm going to play it right now.
You're alive. Bulletproof vest. How did you know? I never got a chance to tell you. What about all that talk about screwing up future events, the space-time continuum?
Well, I figured. What the hell?
So I love that scene very much because I think that it shows that people are so set in their ways. People believe what they believe and nothing should change, but he was open to change back in 1955 when Marty gave him that letter and was trying to persuade him, read this letter, it's going to affect your future. And Doc was so set in his ways, he knew what was best, he didn't want to change. But something came over him where he said, what the hell? Sometimes you have to say, what the hell? And give something else a try, or in Doc's case, he would have died, or who knows, anything could have changed. If he wasn't open to helping Marty get back to the future, he might have never found that he actually created time travel. And it's just really an interesting scene that I always loved, and I love the ending of that movie. And then there's this scene. This is the end of the film, the very end, and it's a quick scene. I'm going to play it real quick.
Hey, Doc, you better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
So, roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. And I think this scene really, and this movie in general, really shaped the mind of not thinking one-dimensionally, you know, to broaden your horizons, to think outside the box. And, you know, till this day, people are still connecting pieces of travel and time travel and what Marty did and what time period and changed it all. And, you know, this has actually been used in addresses and speeches and government and media and all that because it encourages people to think about the innovation that we could create, and especially in Back to the Future 2, it predicts in 2015 that we'd have flying cars and all this stuff, and, you know, we might not have flying cars, but we definitely have advanced, and I think this movie helped shape that idea that you can think about innovation in a realistic way, because there are some things. We do have hoverboard-esques, we do have shoes that could, you know, mold your feet, like little things, but you know, it really connects really well. And then finally, this is Back to the Future Part 3, but there's one message in it that I think really coincides well with what my message, Get Better, is. Our message is Get Better.
Dr. Brown, I brought this note back from the future, and now it's erased.
Of course it's a race!
But what does that mean?
It means your future hasn't been written yet. No one's has. Your future is whatever you make it. So make it a good one. Both of you.
So, your future is whatever you make it. And, you know, this whole movie, it's Marty trying to go back in time and not mess anything up, and then he has to fix it, and then he goes to the future, and he tries to fix the future, and then he goes back all the way back in time to the 1800s. And, you know, I think what's really great about this film is that your future is what you make it. You create your own future. Yes, what you do now does affect the future. And that is important to think about. And even the smallest of tasks, whatever you do in present day, affects your life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life, whatever you do, and not to take any small action and not take it to your advantage and make it lead to your growth. Because, look, anything you do affects your future, but you No one, no person, no history, no background, nothing. Your future is what you make it. You create your future. And, you know, it's always funny to watch Back to the Future 2, and he goes to 2015 and he has to fix all these things. But now that he knows, he's going to make sure that when he's back in 1985, every action that he does, he's going to make sure is the right thing to do. Because if he doesn't, he saw what could happen. And I just love this movie so much. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I watch it all the time. And if you haven't seen it, it's just a fun film, of course, one of the greatest. And it just really does. It just shows that even like movies like this really do have such important lessons. And there's other stuff I didn't talk about, you know, about friendship. And there's Marty McFly himself and having such an outgoing personality and what opportunities that leads to. And I just love this movie so much. And I'm glad I got to talk about it because I always have loved it. Now, moving on, I wanted to also talk about some quotes I came across this weekend. And Bruno Mars. Now, Bruno Mars is my favorite artist on planet. A lot of people don't know that. I love Bruno Mars. I've always loved Bruno Mars. His 2014 Super Bowl halftime show, I think, is arguably one of the greatest performances ever given. I got to see Bruno at the Barclays Center. His music, his style, his demeanor, everything about Bruno Mars, I love how he conducts himself on stage and his stage presence. And I just think he's one of the, in my opinion, the greatest artist of our generation. And, you know, there's a lot of inspiration to draw from his career. And, you know, this is one thing I came across that I wanted to share.
What's like the harshest criticism you got so far?
Harshest criticism. Look, the thing is, you know, in the beginning, it's a little funky, but you got to realize that everybody nowadays has an opinion. Everybody's a critic. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you could watch my video on YouTube and leave a comment. You can go to iTunes and buy my album and leave a comment. You could tweet whatever you want, you know, and you're going to drive yourself crazy if you really take those things seriously. You know, yeah. Just... not everyone's going to love you.
Not everyone's going to love you. Look, there are people who are critiquing your every action. There are people who critique even the smallest things that you do. And I know there are people who critique me, and I don't take it personal. I value those that are very close to me and those that I love and what they think of me. That's what's important to me at the end of the day. And he says it perfectly. There are so many social media sites and, you know, group chats in this world where people are probably talking about you. And that's okay, because what do you think about yourself? And you can't let it get to you. You can't let it affect you, because look at Bruno Mars. He's one of the greatest artists on planet Earth, and people still try to tear him down. And what, if he took it to heart, would he just stop making music? And no, that's not going to happen, because he knows that he has millions of fans who look up to him, and that he knows he changes their lives for the better. And that leads into this conversation he gave at the press conference for the Super Bowl, and I loved the question and I loved his answer.
When you were my age, could you ever imagine yourself being where you are, performing at the halftime show at the Super Bowl?
Could I ever imagine? I just know that I've always wanted to do music, no matter what, whether it was going to be on a Super Bowl halftime show or I was going to be doing music. That's all I know how to do. I'm not too athletic, and I just know that I wanted to do music. So I came out to California, started writing songs, and just wanted to take my music to the next level.
Could you give any advice to kids like me about doing what they love and pursuing that?
Don't let anyone ever try to stop you. That's what they did. You know, that's what I had to face when I moved up to California. Nobody knew what nationality I was, and that was such a big deal, I guess, in the music business, that we don't know who to sell these records or what radio station. And, you know, a lot of people were trying to just tell me, no, you're too unorthodox. That's where unorthodox came from. And if you got your head on straight and you just focus on what it is you love to do and spend all your time practicing your craft, then you have nowhere else to go but up.
You have nowhere else to go but up. And he was looked at as unorthodox, and those who don't know, his second studio album was called Unorthodox Jukebox, which is an unbelievable album. And I think that it's fitting that he gave that title to his album, Unorthodox. He embraced it. You know, people looked at him and thought he wasn't the normal artist, and he said, you know what, I'm going to embrace that, what they're labeling me as, and I'm gonna sell it to the world because this is who I am. And when you're true to yourself, you know what you want to do. He went out to California. He created what his vision of his future was, and he went after it. And he didn't care that people didn't view him the way that they wanted him to be. He was unorthodox, and he did his own thing. And then he came out with 24K Magic, which went on an absolute tear at the Grammys. He's won tons of Grammy Awards. He's gone platinum. He's done the Super Bowl twice. I mean, this guy continues to do things that change the world. He continues to do things that are shocking the music industry, and he doesn't waver. He doesn't change. That's why Bruno Mars, to me, is the greatest living artist. He provides so much inspiration through his music, motivation, and, you know, really listen to his albums, because what he says and what he's trying to do, he's trying to make the world a better place. He's trying to make it happier, and he's trying to do good. He's trying to lift up people's spirits, and there's nothing better that you can do. And Back to the Future, Bruno Mars, two separate ideas, but like I said, you can draw inspiration from anything, and there's only one thing that you need to do to start your Monday off right. You need to realize that you're not good enough, because you can be better, and go do it. Go get better. Thank you all. I'll see you tomorrow.